The battlefield was silent, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence that came after fear, after screams, after fire. Smoke moved slowly in the air, rising from broken alien ships and crushed metal. The ground was black and hot, and every step created a small cloud of dust and ash. A human soldier named Evan Cross walked forward with slow, careful steps. His armor was burned, and his helmet had a long crack on the left side. He felt tired, but his eyes stayed alert. He knew war never ended clean. He did not expect to find any life here. The last attack had destroyed everything. But something inside him told him to keep moving, as if something important waited for him under the ruins. He reached a half-collapsed alien tower. Crystals on the walls were broken and shining weakly, like dying lights. Evan pushed a large metal plate aside. His hands hurt, but he kept going. Behind the metal plate was a dark tunnel, almost hidden. No one else had seen it. He pointed his flashlight inside. Dust floated in the beam. The tunnel went down deep and curved out of sight. His helmet showed no heat signals, no movement. But still, Evan felt something alive down there. Something breathing. He stepped inside the tunnel. The air became colder as he walked down. Strange symbols covered the walls, sharp and glowing faint blue. Evan ran his fingers across them. They felt warm. It confused him, and confusion made him move faster. At the end of the tunnel, he found a locked chamber door. Alien design. Thick. Heavy. A single crystal in the center glowed like a heartbeat. Evan raised his weapon, ready for anything. He pressed his hand on the crystal. The door opened slowly, releasing a deep metallic sound that echoed through the chamber. The room behind it was dark except for a single light above. That light fell on a figure sitting on the floor, hands bound with silver restraints. A girl. No, not a human girl. An alien. Her skin was pale like moonlight, and her hair was silver blue, lying across her face. Her eyes looked up at Evan with a mix of fear and anger. She was weak, but she still looked royal, proud, and dangerous. Evan froze. He knew who she was. He had seen her face on wanted screens. The Curian princess. The enemy's most valuable daughter. If command found her alive, she would be taken, questioned, broken. Or worse. Her voice was soft but sharp. Human, are you here to claim me as war spoils? Evan did not speak. He only stared. She thought he was like the others. She thought he wanted power. She thought he wanted control. She did not know he had already seen enough horror today. He stepped closer, and she tensed like a cornered animal. Do not touch me, she whispered, but he ignored her words and checked her restraints. They were cutting into her wrists. She had been trapped here long before the battle began. Evan breathed slowly. He made a decision without thinking too long. A decision that could destroy his life. A decision that felt right in this moment. He said only one line. I am taking you with me. The princess's eyes widened. You do not understand, she said with fear. If you take me, my people will come. They will burn your world. Evan lifted her gently, and she felt his hands shaking slightly, not with fear but with a strange sense of duty. As he carried her out of the chamber, she suddenly grabbed his arm hard. Human, she whispered in a cold voice, you did not save a princess. You took a target. You took a danger. You took something that should never leave this place. Evan turned to look at her, but before he could speak, he heard a sound behind them. A slow, heavy step. Then another. Something else was in the tunnel. Something that was not human. Something that was not her. Evan tightened his grip on her. The hook had begun. Evan moved through the smoke-filled ruins with the alien princess in his arms. Her weight was light, but her presence felt heavy, like he carried a secret that could change the entire war. The wind blew dust across the broken buildings, and every shadow looked alive. Evan kept his weapon ready, glancing behind again and again. Whatever made that sound in the tunnel was now gone, but he still felt watched. The princess also kept looking over his shoulder, her eyes sharp, as if she expected something to jump out at any moment. They reached the edge of the battlefield where a small human outpost stood. The metal gates were half open, and guards inside pointed guns at Evan the moment they noticed the figure in his arms. One soldier shouted, "Is that Evan? What the hell are you carrying?" Another laughed in disbelief. "He got himself a princess. Did you lose your mind?" Evan ignored them and pushed forward. He had no time for jokes. The princess stayed silent, but her eyes scanned everything carefully, like she was born ready for danger. Inside the base, Evan placed her on a med bed. She pulled her hands away, not trusting the machines. A medic approached but stepped back when the princess stared at him with cold warning. Evan spoke calmly, "She needs help. Remove her restraints." The medic hesitated. "Command will kill us if we touch her." Evan's voice hardened, "Then I will answer for it." The medic sighed and cut the restraints. The princess winced but did not show weakness. She rubbed her wrists slowly, her expression unreadable. For a moment, the room was silent. Evan watched her. She watched him. It was clear she did not understand why he brought her here alive. She asked quietly, "Why save me? My people are your enemy." Evan answered simply, "You were tied, trapped, left to die. That is not war. That is cruelty." She stared at him longer, and something in her anger softened, but only slightly. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A soft humming sound ran through the walls, followed by a sharp crack. One of the screens sparked and died. The soldiers looked around in confusion. Evan felt the same cold feeling he had in the tunnel. The princess whispered without moving her lips, "It has followed us." Evan stepped closer. "What has?" She did not respond. Her eyes only narrowed, watching the dark corner of the room. Evan slowly turned to look, but he saw nothing, just shadows and wires. A soldier checked the power grid. "Everything's normal," he said, but even he sounded unsure. Later, Evan walked into the hallway. The air smelled strange, like metal and burned circuits. He heard a soft tapping sound, slow and steady. He followed it and found nothing but a flickering light. When he turned around, he saw a guard standing frozen, staring at the wall. "You okay?" Evan asked. The guard did not answer. He blinked once, shook his head, and walked away hurriedly, refusing to look back. Evan felt unease crawl inside him. Back in the room, the princess sat on the bed, hugging her arms. She finally looked tired, as if her strength had limits. "You think you saved me," she said softly. "But now you are marked." Evan frowned. "Marked by who?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Not my people. Not yours. Something older." The tone of her voice made his chest tighten. Evan sat down across from her, maintaining distance. "Tell me the truth." She looked at him with tired eyes. "If I tell you everything, you will not sleep again." He leaned forward. "Tell me anyway." She closed her eyes, as if choosing her words carefully. Then she said, "I escaped not from soldiers, but from a creature your people do not know. It hunts power. It hunts blood. It hunts me." Evan's heartbeat sped up. He remembered the sound in the tunnel. The heavy footsteps. The feeling of breath behind his neck. Before he could ask more, the entire base shook violently. Alarms began to scream. Soldiers started shouting outside. Evan grabbed his weapon and stood. The princess also stood, her fear gone, replaced by cold focus. "It found us," she said. "And it is not alone." The alarms screamed through the outpost, turning every hallway into a wall of red flashing lights. Soldiers ran in every direction, shouting orders, grabbing weapons, and pushing past each other. Evan held his rifle tight as he moved toward the main entrance. The princess followed close behind, her steps quiet but her eyes sharp. She was not afraid anymore. She looked like someone who had seen this danger before, and survived it once. Outside, the air felt colder than before. The sky above the battlefield was dark, not from smoke but from something moving across the clouds. Evan tried to focus his visor, but the signal kept breaking. The lights around the base flickered again. A soldier near the gate shouted, "I saw something move out there." Another yelled, "Hold positions." Evan scanned the area. There was nothing, until the ground trembled lightly beneath their feet. A quiet thump. Then another. Slow, heavy steps, as if something was walking but trying not to be heard. The princess whispered, "It came through the shadows. It will not stop." A moment later, the perimeter lights went out with a single snap. Darkness covered the entire outpost. Soldiers cursed and scrambled. Evan turned his flashlight on, but the beam shook slightly in his hand. He felt the same cold fear he had felt in the tunnel. Then the first soldier vanished. Not killed. Vanished. One moment he stood aiming his gun. The next moment he was gone, leaving only his weapon on the ground. Someone screamed. What was that? Where did he go? Evan raised his rifle and shouted, "Eyes up. Do not break formation." A strange low sound echoed through the air, like a growl mixed with a whisper. The princess flinched at the sound and grabbed Evan's arm. He felt her hand trembling. "It hunts by fear," she said. "Do not think about it. Do not imagine it." "Too late for that," Evan muttered, scanning the darkness. A shadow moved fast across the far wall, tall and thin with long, twisted limbs. It crawled like a spider, but its size was wrong, too large, too smooth, too silent. Several soldiers fired at it, but the bullets passed through nothing. The creature was already gone, leaving only the echo of its movement. Evan felt heat rise in his chest. "We need to get out of here," he said. The princess nodded quickly. "It is after me. It will kill everyone to reach me." They ran back inside the outpost, heading toward the transport bay. The hallway lights kept flickering, making everything appear in broken flashes, one moment bright, next moment dark. Each dark moment felt longer than it should. Evan kept checking behind them. He saw nothing, but he felt something breathing behind him. As they entered the transport bay, a loud crash hit the roof. Dust rained down. The princess covered her head and whispered, "It has found our path." Evan pointed to a small patrol ship resting on a platform. "We take that. Now." Soldiers nearby tried to stop them. "That ship is damaged. It will not fly." Evan shouted back, "It only needs to fly long enough to get us away from the base." The princess climbed in first. Evan started the power sequence, and the engines coughed with sparks. The roof above them cracked again. A long, black limb slid through the crack, feeling the air like it was tasting the fear inside the room. The engines finally roared to life. Evan slammed the controls, and the ship lifted off. The creature's limbs snapped forward, trying to grab them, but the ship shot upward, scraping past the broken ceiling and blasting through smoke and debris. Once they were in the sky, Evan turned to the princess. She was breathing fast, staring at the dark shape running across the roof below. "That thing is not from your empire, is it?" She shook her head. "No. It is older. It is something even my people fear." Evan tightened his grip on the controls. "Why is it chasing you?" She looked at him with eyes full of secrets. "Because I carry something it wants. And if it gets me, the war will become something much worse." Evan swallowed hard. The chase had only begun. The patrol ship shook as it cut through the dark sky. Sparks trailed behind it, and every alarm inside the cockpit flashed red. Evan kept both hands locked on the controls, fighting to keep the ship steady. The princess sat beside him, gripping the seat as the ship trembled. Her breathing was fast, but her eyes stayed focused on the clouds behind them, searching for movement. Evan looked at her for a split second. That thing, it followed us out of the base. Why does it want you so badly? The princess hesitated. Her voice dropped to a cold whisper. Because I carry a secret my empire tried to bury. A secret older than our war. Evan wanted answers, but right now he needed the ship to stay in the air. The scanners flickered, unable to give a clear image. Something heavy kept interfering with the signal. Something that followed them through the sky. A sudden thud hit the rear of the ship. Evan jerked forward. The princess gasped, grabbing the dashboard. Another thud, louder this time. The entire hull groaned. It is here, she whispered. Evan gritted his teeth. This ship is already falling apart. If it hits us again, we are dead. He pushed the ship lower, diving toward a dead moon covered in gray dust and broken rocks. The creature hit them again, and the ship spun. Evan lost control for a moment, and they crashed through a layer of clouds, heading straight for the rocky surface. Hold on, he shouted. The ship smashed into the ground, skidding across the dust, flipping once before coming to a violent stop. The glass cracked. The metal bent. Dust filled the cockpit. Evan felt pain shoot through his arm. The princess groaned softly beside him but managed to sit up. He pushed the emergency release, and the door fell open. Cold air hit their faces. Evan stumbled out, holding his injured arm. The princess followed but stopped suddenly. Her eyes widened. Across the moon's surface, 3 dark shapes crawled down from a cliff, moving fast, like shadows sliding across stone. The creatures were here. Evan raised his rifle, even though he knew bullets did nothing. Run, he said, breathing hard. Run now. They sprinted across the moon's surface, jumping over rocks, slipping on dust. The creatures followed silently, their long limbs moving like liquid shadows. Every few seconds, Evan looked back and saw them getting closer, too close. The princess suddenly stopped and grabbed Evan's hand. This way. She pulled him toward a cave hidden behind a broken ridge. Inside the cave, blue crystals glowed faintly, lighting their path. The temperature dropped, and the sound of the creature's limbs scraping stone echoed behind them. They reached the back of the cave where a strange symbol glowed on the wall, golden, circular, ancient. The princess stepped toward it. Evan grabbed her arm. What is that? She touched the symbol gently. It is something I was never allowed to speak about. A power sleeping inside my blood. My father feared it. The generals feared it. So they locked me away. Evan stared at her, shocked. And the creature, it wants that power. She nodded slowly. It feeds on energy. Life. Memory. It wants what is inside me. And if it takes it, it will never stop. The ground trembled as the creatures entered the cave. Their shadows stretched across the walls, long and twisting. Evan stepped in front of the princess, even though he knew he could not stop them alone. The princess placed her hand on his shoulder. He felt a warm pulse move into him, like a heartbeat made of light. What are you doing? He whispered. She answered softly, giving you enough strength to live through what comes next. The creatures screeched, rushing toward them. The golden symbol on the wall exploded with light. A wave of energy hit the cave. And everything turned white. The truth about the princess was waking up, and it would change the entire galaxy. The white light faded slowly, like fog rolling away from a burning fire. Evan blinked until shapes returned. The cave walls looked different, brighter, sharper, almost alive. The blue crystals glowed brighter than before, and the air felt warmer. His heartbeat was strong, steady, and louder in his ears. It took him a moment to realize it was not just his heartbeat, there was another pulse, faint but present, coming from the princess standing beside him. She was glowing. A soft golden light shimmered around her skin. Her silver-blue hair floated slightly as if touched by invisible wind. Evan stared, unsure if he was dreaming. The princess looked at her hands with shock, almost fear, then lifted her eyes to him. "I did not want this to happen," she whispered. "But the symbol awakened my blood. Now the creatures know exactly where we are." Evan listened closely. The cave was silent at first. Then the sound returned, scraping limbs, crawling shadows, soft clicks on stone. The creatures were recovering from the blast of energy. They were coming again. Evan raised his weapon, even though he knew it was useless. "Tell me what we are facing. Tell me what you are now." The princess stepped in front of him. Her golden aura grew stronger. "My people call it the hollow feeder. It hunts power. It drains life. It grows stronger with every soul it takes. Long ago, my ancestors trapped it between dimensions using the same symbol you saw. But the generals wanted power. They tried using the creature for the war, and it escaped." Evan felt cold spread through his chest. "So they locked you away because you knew the truth." She nodded slowly. "And because the feeder follows whoever holds the ancient bloodline. It follows me." The scraping sound grew louder. 3 shadows appeared at the mouth of the cave again, taller than before, twisted by the energy blast. Their limbs stretched unnaturally as they moved. They no longer crawled, they glided across the stone. Evan tightened his grip. "What do we do?" She breathed once, deeply. "We end it." The creatures charged. The cave trembled. Evan stepped forward to shield her, but she lifted a hand. A golden wall of light appeared before them, stopping the creatures instantly. They slammed into it, their limbs cracking and twisting. But the light began to weaken. The princess struggled. Her legs shook. "I cannot hold it for long." Evan moved closer and placed his hand on her back. "Use my strength. Use whatever you gave me. I am not letting them take you." Her eyes widened, not in fear but in surprise. "No human has ever survived this power. You will not last. Try me." Something in his voice made her trust him completely. She placed her hand over his chest. Their 2 heartbeats aligned. Golden energy surged from her into him and then back, like a loop made of light. The wall grew stronger, brighter. The creatures screeched as their bodies began to crack under the pressure. Evan felt pain shoot through his arm, but he kept standing. "Do it, finish it." The princess closed her eyes. Her aura exploded outward like a sun bursting open. The cave filled with pure golden light. The creatures screamed, their shadows burning away until nothing remained. The light swallowed the entire cavern, shaking the moon beneath their feet. Then, silence. The light faded. The cave returned to normal. The creatures were gone, turned into dust on the cave floor. Evan fell to one knee, breathing hard. The princess knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You should be dead," she whispered. Evan smiled weakly. "Guess I am harder to break than you thought." She looked away for a moment, then back at him with soft, tired eyes. "You saved me, again. And this time, you saved more than me. If the hollow feeder had escaped fully, it would have ended every world." Evan stood slowly, holding her hand to help her up. "So what happens now?" She looked at the sky beyond the cave entrance. Her people's royal fleet hovered above the moon, thousands of lights bright in the distance. A new voice echoed from a ship speaker. "Princess Alara. You are ordered to surrender." She did not move. Evan took a step forward, placing himself between her and the fleet. "You are not taking her," he said loud, steady, fearless. The princess touched his arm gently. "We will face them together." For the first time since the war began, she smiled, a small, calm smile filled with strength. And for the first time, Evan felt hope instead of fear. Their fight was not over. But it had finally begun on their terms.